You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. Word up. Today we're going to be covering over Gengar VMAX. Now, while we won't be able to do any gameplay, I will be able to show you my list that I've been working on to get everyone prepared for when PTCG Live comes out or when in real life play returns. Things like that. Should be a lot of cool things going on in general when it comes to this list. So I'm excited to show you. The list is in the description, so feel free to copy and paste that into whichever program allows you to copy and paste it into, or feel free to build off of the list that I currently have. Really excited to bring this deck profile to you, so let's learn a little bit about this deck. If you like this Fusion Strike content, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you, Light, for being this whole area in the middle, but gotta love recording videos. Let's jump into the deck profile and see what's going on. So here we have the Gengar list that I've created just by a little bit of Theorymon testing back and forth. I think Gengar VMAX is probably a very good deck. I like that it has a base of a deck, single strike. So what I've done here, I took basically my single strike Urshifu VMAX deck. Very similar to all the lists that have been seeing a lot of success at these tournaments. And I was like, okay, I think we could take out Urshifu VMAX. The reason why is because Gengar is kind of like a better Urshifu VMAX, but it's dark type. So in a lot of ways, it has a 2 energy attack, whereas Urshifu VMAX has a 3 energy attack. It does 60 damage for each of your opponents, 60 plus 60 for each of your opponents. Pokemon V, VMAX, V Union, V Star, and GX, even though we're playing this is a standard deck. If your opponent has like a Crobat, and let's just say if they have a Crobat in play, just a Crobat, just one Pokemon V. Most decks have a Pokemon V, if not a lot. Panic Fear does 120, which is more than beatdown on an Urshifu VMAX. It also has a 3 energy attack compared to Gmax 1 Blow, which is a 4 energy attack. You do 250 damage. It says this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. That's fine. It just gives us opportunities to retreat into another Pokemon and attack with that Pokemon. So I like that there's ways to attack with this deck relatively quickly. And with Single Strike Energy, you could turn that Gmax Engulf with 4 energies attached to it. You could turn it to 330, or you could do 310 with 3 energies attached to it with Single Strike Energies. Since we're all dark, we also have access to Hiding Darkness Energy, which allows us to give our dark Pokemon free retreat. I think that's a really cool aspect about this deck. We still have a couple of switches just in case we run into special conditions. But the goal here is really just to use Houndoom, to use Single Strike Roar, to power up Single Strike Energies on either your Umbreon or your Gengar. They both have different weaknesses as well. Gengar VMAX is weak to Fighting type, whereas Umbreon is weak to Grass type. So if you run into a Fighting type deck, you can use Umbreon. If you run into a Grass type deck, you can use Gengar. You have different weaknesses, which works out great, especially considering they're the same type. Gengar V, since that's another new card, you have access to a 2 energy attack, 40 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. And then you can do a 3 energy attack that does 190. So you actually have a differing amount of damage that you could do. So in almost every single way, Gengar V or Gengar VMAX has more of a higher damage cap. And I think really where I like Gengar VMAX is if your opponent has a bunch of Pokemon V in play, you could hit for a lot of damage for only 2 energies. I think that's the crazy part. Like, let's not even look at it like it's better than beatdown. Let's look at it if we're playing against a single strike Urshifu VMAX deck that has, if they have 4 Pokemon out in play, they're getting hit for 300 damage base. 2 single strike energies means that they're just getting knocked out. That seems really reasonable. And another thing too, like again, so on top of that being like all themed with single strike, having the Hiding Darkness energy, like it just has the core of a single strike tournament winning list with all the Houndooms. Like this list took me maybe 10 minutes to make, and I looked at all the cards and I was like, what else could I add in here? Maybe we need less Urn of Vitality. I mean, maybe I do want to play a 4th copy, and it's something that I might want to add back into the deck. I did add a single copy of Echoing Horn here, just for Panic Fear. You have access to Umbreon VMAX to bring up that Pokemon. You can use Echoing Horn to get back a Pokemon V to do more damage with Panic Fear. I looked at Echoing Horn that it could be a plus 60 damage, or it could be that 2 prize card Pokemon. Maybe we knock out a Crobat, Umbreon, Dark Signal it up for game. So between having access to accelerating energies, multiple damage options between both Gengar V and Gengar VMAX with varying effects, we have Umbreon V with varying effects, Umbreon VMAX to Gust Up, also a very efficient attacker. I did decide to go for a third copy of Gengar VMAX, where most of the Umbreon or the Urshifu lines in a typical deck like this would run like a 4-1 or a 4-2 or a 3-2. I just think that Gengar VMAX is very efficient in terms of being attackers, so I want to get that Pokemon out a little bit more often. Supporter line looks pretty normal with the 4 Marnie, 4 Research, 2 Boss. It's really just like consistent with the 4 Evolution Incense, 4 Quick Ball, 4 Capture Energy. So really setting there, I more and more that I look at this list, I'd like to play a 4th copy of Vern. Not sure where I'd get that spots. I think that if we don't need to worry about any special conditions or you cannot retreat or anything else like that, we could actually convert Switch into more copies of Hiding Darkness Energy. Might be a little bit better. Echoing Horn again is right now. I think it's a spicy tech to increase Gengar's Panic Fear attack, or just like putting another Pokemon in play can never be terrible. It might just be better as just having an extra space in the deck. But right now, off the top of my head, I like having access to increasing Panic Fear by 60 and just like bringing back a 2 prize card Pokemon. Tool Jammer, I think, is useful when it comes to a deck like this. You always want to have things like, you want to be able to knock out a Suicune, or you want to be able to just stop your opponent, whatever tools they may or may not have in play. Tower of Darkness, again, all of these Pokemon are single strike cards, so having a single strike stadium works out great. And as much as Gengar, I know a lot of peeps are going to be like, Zach, you know that Gengar can't benefit off capture energy? That's cool, since the attacks also cost 1 less energy than Urshifu for both attacks. I can Panic Fear for less in general, meaning I could just naturally attach a single strike energy and Houndoom for 1. So the capture energy being attached there is probably not going to be the biggest deal. Try not to attach it to the Gengar if you could help yourself. It takes pure darkness type energies. Umbreon would be a little bit of a better choice, or maybe even a Houndoom. But we can just kind of look at it like Urshifu. If we end up having to attach a capture energy to it, oh well, it's now the same exact cost as in Urshifu VMAX, and you're doing like the same amount of damage, if not more. And you're pure darkness type, so you have access to things like Hiding Darkness Energy. So that's kind of where I go for with it back and forth, where I'm like, yeah, I think Capture Energy is really good, because anyone who's played Single Strike for a while knows that Houndour and Houndoom are the core of a Single Strike deck. So it seems really important to get those Pokemon out as soon as possible, because without those Pokemon, you do not have access to Single Strike Energy, you do not have access to your attacks. That is why it's very important to get those out. So Capture Energy, I think, is a little bit of a must. But yeah, I think maybe just cutting switches and an Echoing Horn is something that I'm considering. Tool Jammer might not necessarily be needed, especially if Panic Fear can just knock out a Suicune normally. That's typically why we play Tool Jammer, or if you can knock out Zacians, Amazentas, stuff like that. Right now, I think this deck seems poised to do very well. Darkness type decks are doing quite well, and especially with Mew VMAX being weak to Dark type, this to me seems like it's going to be one of those breakout decks where you could plug and play your Gengars into a single strike deck and really evolve the archetype. The same way that if, like, let's say if you're like, you want to know what, I don't have Urshifu, single strike Urshifus, can I add Tornadus into this deck? Yeah, it might not necessarily be as competitive, but you could swap these single strike Pokemon in and out because they all gain the same benefits from the core of the deck, and the core of the deck is really what's going to see success. So I think, again, if single strike Urshifu VMAX was successful, and it's been a top 3 deck for about a month and a half now, maybe 2 months, Gengar VMAX definitely is going to be successful. Unless, of course, there's something that's just strictly fighting, or stops darkness type Pokemon, or stops single strike Pokemon. This is one of those decks that I think is just going to see success immediately at the gate, because players know how to play this deck perfectly already. If you know how to play single strike Urshifu VMAX, you know how to play Gengar VMAX. If you have the core of the deck built, we know how it's built. So this deck right now is like 90, 98, 99, maybe even 100% just the build day one. That's really important when it comes to looking at new decks. So this is the list. The list is also in the description. So if you want to like play around with it, you're more than welcome to use it. I mean, I'm more than open to feedback on this deck. I'd love to hear some of it. I think I kind of addressed all my concerns or possible changes with the deck. But if you have any other changes, or like you're like, you want to know what, Zach, you missed this card's what makes the deck broken, I'm more than excited to hear about it. And I'd love to hear back from you real soon. So this is a sick deck. I'm excited. I think Gengar VMAX looks absolutely awesome. One of my favorite arts from the set. And I think it's going to be an awesome deck. Well, that's what we got going on for this video today, peeps. Hopefully you've been enjoying these new access to lists. Typically, I don't really get around to these lists until the week of. I figured, you want to know what? Let's go future forward thinking and make sure that we have access to these awesome lists for everyone to get prepared for when Fusion Strike comes out. I do plan on playing maybe some tabletop games with these. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I just wanted to get some proof of concept lists down. And again, be sure to spark that discussion. I love to talk about everything when it comes to the community. If you have an idea, I might just take that idea. I'll credit everyone. I try to credit everyone whenever possible, but it's one of those things where I really appreciate it. If you're looking for any of the descriptions or, not descriptions, translations of these decks or what these cards do, I use Justin Basil. I think Justin Basil is my favorite site to grab these things. So that is linked in the description as well, so check that out if you want to know what these cards do a little bit more, if I kind of just brushed over it in the video. But yeah, this is an awesome deck, and I think it's worthwhile to pick up. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.